vida, estamos aquí en La Dosis Podcast, que es para tanto YouTube como para todas nuestras plataformas. Aquí estoy con mi primito Lu. Primito.
Yes. What do we have today on our podcast?
Gente, es que yo no le puedo explicar lo que significa tener un equipo de trabajo en donde esté incluido mi primo Lu. Yo sé que no le gusta que yo diga estas cosas, pero esas cosas suceden solamente porque mi primo Lu, su granito de arena, que es como decir una montaña de arena, siempre hace que las cosas sucedan. Y hoy vamos a tener este cantante a nivel mundial extremadamente increíble, vocalista de uno de los mejores discos del mundo, que es el Souls of Black, uno de los mejores discos de metal en vivo, que es Return to the Apocalyptic City, el señor Chuck Billy the Testament. Luisito.
Crazy. I don't know how we did it, pero tenemos Chuck Billy the Testament. Él viene en mayo con Creator at Peppers. Y yeah, primo, a cualquier persona that we would say, oh, vamos a hacer la entrevista a Chuck Billy, what would they say to us? So many lies.
Eso jamás va a suceder, man. Pero eso es parte de lo bonito de trabajar aparte en La Dosis. Yo creo que todos aportamos algo que hace que este equipo sea increíble. Gracias, Lu, por todo tu esfuerzo, por toda la energía tan linda que le pones al programa. Todo esto lo hacemos para que ustedes conozcan un poquito más allá al artista. Igual siempre tratamos de hacer preguntas que no son las preguntas que normalmente todo el mundo les hace a los artistas. Y es que espero que lo disfruten muchísimo. Luisito, ¿qué tienen que visitar la gente? Por favor, las redes.
ladosisradio.com. Check out our YouTube. Follow Nelson Aggressor on Instagram. That is the place to go. Thank you, Chuck, for this interview. Nelson, you ready? Let's go do it.
Vámonos, ahora sí, gente.
Let's go.
Con ustedes, el inigualable, el único, Chuck Billy. Una de las voces icónicas de nivel mundial. Tenemos el honor, o sea, es que la palabra es el honor. Ustedes no saben lo que siento yo ahorita en este momento de tener que presentarles al único, el inigualable vocalista de Testament, el señor Chuck Billy. Oh yeah.
Yes. Super enormous, gigantic honor on our behalf to have you with us, Chuck. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today.
Thank you so much. And that was a hell of an intro there, Nelson. So thank you. It's understand. It was a hell of an intro.
It's all good vibes. You know it.
Yeah.
Okay. The things that all the fans want to know. Voy a decirlo obviamente en español yo, porque Luisito va a hacer la traducción. Queremos primero saber en qué momento de tu vida te diste cuenta que la música era algo tuyo y que si empezaste cantando o normalmente a veces a algunos les da por imaginarse que tocaban guitarra o tocaba batería. ¿Qué fue lo primero que sentiste tú cuando eras un niño, cuando querías empezar a hacer la música?
So Chuck, we do things totally different. We're not your typical music interview by any means. We're going to start off with Baby Chuck. When you started listening to music at home, right? And you started getting into like whatever music that you heard when you were at home. What was that moment, or do you remember a moment or a song or a time where it was like, oh my God, I love music. I want to do this. And how did that start? Did you automatically know that you wanted to sing? Did you pick up an instrument or some, sticks and say, oh my God, I want to be a drummer? How did that commence?
My oldest brother, he's, I believe about 6 years older than me. He, played guitar and sang, and he listened to bands like, Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin and like Crosby, Stills and Nash. We had a harmonica and played an acoustic guitar. And so I was always around music, but I liked it a little harder. So when I was kind of introduced to harder rock and roll, British heavy metal and stuff like that, that's what really got me. But I have to say, when I was about 13 years old, I went to my first concert, and it was Kiss.
Nice.
First time I ever smelled weed really and stuff, and got dropped off and went to this concert and seen Gene Simmons spitting blood and fire, and I thought, oh my God, that's entertaining right there. And that's when it kind of clicked, like I want to do that, somehow be an entertainer. Not necessarily Gene Simmons, but he inspired me, that just what he brought out. So I was really inspired by guitar playing. All my older brother and my younger brothers are really good guitar players. And I've always been drawn to guitar because I started out, I wanted to be a guitar player, not a singer. I never wanted to sing. And so I started playing guitar around the 8th grade and all through high school. And I thought, okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to do, was be a guitar player. And my younger brother had a band, and me and Steve Souza, singer from Exodus, he's best friends with my younger brother. We used to always go watch these guys rehearse in a back of a 40-foot trailer, the trucking trailer down in Oakland. And so me and Zet would go down there and watch them play, and we'd thrash around in there. And one day they threw the lyrics to me and said, "Here, why don't you sing today?" So I said, all right. So I sang, and then they're like, "All right, you're our new singer now." So I kind of like inherited the spot as being a singer. And so kind of at that point, I kind of said, you know what, I'm not the best guitar player. I love it, but I have an opportunity to be in a band, do something I want to do. Shoot, I better learn how to sing. So I went to college for a little over a year, taking music theories and singing, and also taking private lessons, vocal lessons at that time as well. And so I went through, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years of the training and lessons and coaching, and thought, okay, now I was in singing for that band, but it was just for fun. I thought, now I'm ready to really get into a real band. I thought, and I lived away from the Bay Area, so I thought, I want to go to the Bay Area and be in a Bay Area band that plays all the cool clubs that we have. So Steve Souza was in the band Legacy and was friends with my brother, and we used to go see him play. And one day he came home and said, "Hey man, I'm quitting Legacy to join Exodus. Here's Alex Skolnick's number. Why don't you call Alex? And they're going to need a singer." So when I took the advice, I wasn't really into that style of music yet, like that thrash style of metal. So it was kind of like, whoa, okay, well, let me trip on this. I listened to it, studied it. And I had just been training for a few years to be a melodic vocalist and put melody to lyrics and stuff like that. And then now I got into a band where all the lyrics were on tempos. And I was singing, to rapid fire. And Eric kind of put me through like a crash course of like, okay, here's how you do it. But I did the demo because they actually had a record deal, and the label said, well, if you send me a new demo with Chuck, and if we like it, we got a deal. And so I did the demo, the same 3 songs Steve sang, and they liked it. And they decided they're going to come out and see us, and
Amazing.
And they signed us. It was actually the night Cliff Burton had passed away. That had been in town, and the next morning was the audition. So Johnny and Marcia showed up to the audition with no sleep. They've been up all night talking to Europe and unbelief, and they still showed up for the audition, and we played the song. It was the most somber audition, but we got the gig. We got a record deal, and it was my kind of like first audition for a band. I landed it, and I've been here ever since.
That's awesome. Muy bien. That's amazing. Qué bueno. Ok, vamos con otra pregunta que es más o menos relacionada también con el Chuck niño, que es, nos dimos cuenta que Stephen Carpenter de Deftones es primo tuyo. Cuando ustedes eran niños o jóvenes, ¿alguna vez hicieron alguna canción juntos?
So we discovered that apparently Stephen Carpenter of Deftones is first cousins. You guys are first cousins?
Yeah.
Did you guys ever play any music when you were kids? Like,
no, I was much older than him. So by the time my band started and was doing the touring, he was still, playing the Bay Area scene, and, didn't have any albums yet at that point.
Did you have like a massive influence on him? Was
no, I don't think so. No, it was just the love of the same music. I think we seen each other in younger years. His family's from Sacramento. I'm from the Bay Area, so it's only like an hour away. So we'd go there. That's my mother's side of the family. So, but we keep up. I see him if I'm in LA, he'll come to the show, or if I'm down in the area, we'll go golf or do something.
Nice, very nice.
Bien, 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 bien. Ok, si tuvieras el poder de regresar en el tiempo y llegar al cuarto donde estabas tú con 12 años, ¿qué le dirías a tu niño interior de 12 años? De lo que ha pasado en la vida con música.
Yeah. If you could hop into a time machine, right? And go back and see yourself when you were 12 years old, and you're looking at 12 years old Chuck, and you're like, you get a chance to be like, hey, I want to tell you this. What advice would you give your 12-year-old Chuck right now?
Well, I mean,
different questions of all times.
Yeah, but I mean, I have no regrets, but sometimes you maybe you miss going out on education, in school and stuff. But as far as giving me advice for my music, I would just be saying, watch those books and numbers in your early start of your career, because if you don't pay attention early on, it's gone. So, that's one lesson I've learned. That's got to pay
Eso
attention.
Es muy importante.
Yeah.
Muy importante. Excelente. Siguiendo también en el pasado un poco, ¿cómo fue esa primera vez en un escenario con Rampage en 1982?
What was it like the first time you went, from what we researched, first time that you went on stage with a band called Rampage in 1982? What was that feeling like the first time that you got on stage? You're like, okay, here we go.
It was crazy because 1982, you got to remember that really wasn't a big exposure of thrash metal. It's more rock and hair metal and, a lot of stuff like that. So I felt at that time, and then I loved being up and being a performer, but I did feel odd because I was much larger than a lot of the people and singing, softer music, but I was very aggressive when I was young, singing this softer music, banging my head and running around, and I didn't fit, so, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. I love getting up and entertaining, so
Okay.
that one was odd because that was our very first professional show, was on a professional stage. We played bars and backyard parties and living rooms at that point, but that one was a professional show and all our friends, and it was just like I went over the top. I was running off the stage down the middle of the crowd. I mean, I was going crazy because I don't know.
Party.
I didn't know what to do. We were drinking, having fun, and you go for it,
Yeah, that's it. And es como la misma pregunta, pero muchos no saben que también uno de tus primeros grupos fue un grupo que se llamaba Guilt.
Okay, entonces, you were also in a band called Guilt, right? And what was it feeling like when you had a track by Guilt that was called Down to the City, and it appeared on one of those old school compilations, US Metal Volume 4 on Shrapnel? What was that feeling like the first time that it was like, holy shit, we're on a record?
Well, that was my very first kind of professional recording. And the funny thing was, and it was more of a rock song, real kind of Doc and Rat kind of vibe, I guess, back then. But a funny story about that recording is I recorded in Prairie Sun Studios up in Katati. And during my recording session, I'd heard all this screaming and yelling next door, and I stopped and asked the producer, what's going on next door, man? It's kind of loud. And they're like, Exodus is recording their record over there. So they were recording Bonded by Blood in the next room when I was recording this Down to the City song in the other studio. So it's kind of awesome.
Wow, qué bueno. Ok, entre muchas cosas que conocemos los super fans de Testament, es que Testament al principio no se llamaba Testament, se llamaba Legacy. ¿Cómo fue que sucedió que tuvieron que cambiar? Nosotros sabemos el por qué, pero es bueno que la gente sepa por qué se tuvo que cambiar el nombre de Legacy a Testament.
So obviously your super fans know that band was called Legacy, first, and then had to change the name to Testament. We, know the story, but we were curious, like what kind of reaction happened when you guys found out that you had to change the name, apparently because a hotel band, like an R&B band, had already trademarked the name?
Yeah, there was a band that had it for about 15 years, and they wouldn't give it up. And we we held on all the way up into the first recording of the record. We were in the studio going, shit, by the time we only got like 4 weeks left, we better think of a name, and that's kind of what happened. And Billy Milano, SOD, MOD, fame, we hung out and met, and he's actually the one who came up with the idea of Testament. We were
amazing name.
Well, it was like legacy. Okay, leaving a testament, leaving a legacy, was kind of like the same meaning. So we were kind of okay. And then Eric drew the logo with the T's and the A, and it's real symmetrical, kind of reminded me like a Metallica kind of feel.
Exactly.
Like, that looks good. So yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, perfect. Ahora, ¿cómo fue crecer en una familia de 4 hermanos? ¿Qué tan orgullosos se sentían ellos cuando tuviste tu primer super record deal with Megaforce?
So growing up in a working class family with 4 siblings, how proud were you when you could tell the family that you got a record deal with Megaforce?
Especially my mom. My mom the whole time was like, go to school, don't be a singer, because
you made it.
She was a singer, and she had a bad experience when she was younger, and she kind of like had a bad taste with it. She's like, just go to school, don't be a singer. So she actually only seen me perform once. She came in, believe it was like 1992, opening up for Judas Priest at the Oakland Coliseum. Our hometown show, and her and my dad came, and that was like her first and only show, and she was very proud because they sat up in the seats, and they're, that's my son, and kids are
that's like, my little Chuck.
Yeah, give me a good photo, so my mom and dad were very proud moment that night.
That's awesome.
I love it. Amazing. Okay. Bueno, viendo todo lo que hay detrás de ti, esta pregunta es algo muy bonito, porque al inicio de la vida, cuando uno quiere tener un grupo, no se llega a imaginar que un día vas a llegar a vender 14 millones de álbumes. ¿Qué se siente ser parte de un grupo que ha tenido tanto éxito y que tantas personas amamos?
So as much as we'd love to dream that we're going to do these amazing, awesome things in our lives, whatever it is, what is it like in retrospect to see that like you have been part of a group in which you guys have sold over 14 million albums worldwide? How does that feel when you put that into perspective?
Well, I mean, looking back on, wow, I'm still here. We're still here playing. We still have fans putting the horns up in front of us on stage. So that's always a good feeling, and I give it to like Eric. I give Eric a lot of praise with it, because Eric has always kept this band in a straight line, playing Testament style metal and not veering off the path and trying different things. He's always stuck to what he does best, and that's being Testament style riffs. So I give it to him for keeping us feeling current, because I'd say every record we do, we always try to outdo ourselves. And like our last couple of records, I think they're our best records. I think they sound the best, and creatively, there's some of the best work we're doing now, 30 something years later, and I think that's pretty awesome. I'm actually on our latest record using some voices I haven't used or tried. And so I'm I thought it was cool trying new things on records 30 something years later as a vocalist. So, we still got hopefully a lot of records in us and a lot of more songs.
Muy bien.
Awesome.
Esto no está en ninguna pregunta, pero como fan te digo que algo muy, muy importante de Testament es que Testament nunca ha querido sonar diferente a otro grupo. Siempre, desde el disco 1 hasta el último, Testament siempre ha tenido el mismo sonido brutal. Y eso es lo que admiramos nosotros los fans, porque es el sonido que a nosotros nos gusta que se mantenga.
It's an amazing thing from a fan standpoint that Testament has not changed their sound to something crazy or gone with any trends over the entire period that you guys have done music. You didn't shift into like, well, let's try a grunge thing because that's what all the kids are doing. Or, well, you know what? We're going to start doing electronic drums because that's the niche now. And so just from a fan standpoint, Nelson, myself, and speaking on behalf of your Testament fans, thank you for staying true to your sound.
Well,
Exactly.
thank you. I mean, I think that's the longevity that's kept us here.
Exactly.
Actually keeps us working harder and harder because we kind of outdo ourselves. So, so every time it's like, how do we get outdo that record? And somehow, Eric pulls it through and he writes some good stuff. So, let's see if we can keep the iron burning one more time.
Let's go.
We're working on new music now. So.
Ok, esta otra pregunta es, ¿cuál fue la reacción en su momento de Testament cuando tuvo que estar en vez de Megadeth on Monsters of Rock? Porque eso es un concierto brutal que todos hemos soñado tocar.
All right, so apparently there was a Monsters of Rock tour, like late 80s, where Megadeth had to cancel, and then you guys were asked to fill in for Monsters of Rock. What was that reaction when you guys were asked to fill that spot in the lineup for the Monsters?
It was awesome. It was 1988. So, okay. We only been at our first record out April 87 and been touring since then. So 88, it was like, wow, we had only done club shows and nothing like huge like that. And for out of the blue to get called and say, hey, Megadeth can't make these shows. Can you fill in these two spots?
Oh my God.
Of course.
I can't believe it.
And they're like, how many people? It's like 120,000 people. We're like, whoa. We're like, oh my God. So we're like tripping out. And of course, getting there, we're like kids in a candy store. We're sitting backstage and David Lee Roth's trailer's right next door to ours. And he's sitting out front on his picnic table on his 10-speed bike, because they kicked him out of his hotel and he wouldn't let him stay his bike in the hotel. So he's decided to stay on the grounds in a trailer. And so that was like my first experience. I'm a young kid meeting David Lee Roth, hanging out. I'm like, oh my God, this is like amazing. And then to step out on the stage to 120,000 people that know your songs. And you're just like, oh my God,
God,
that blew me away. It was amazing. The energy level was crazy. I don't think I stopped banging my head the whole time I sang.
Qué bueno. Qué momento más increíble, la verdad. Qué bonito que la vida te haya premiado con esas cosas tan bonitas. Uno de los mejores covers que yo he escuchado en el metal es el cover hecho por el señor Chuck Billy de Fear of the Dark, para el disco Numbers of the Beast. ¿Cómo fue esa experiencia de grabar esa canción?
So one of our favorite covers of all time is your cover of Fear of the Dark for the Numbers of the Beast Iron Maiden tribute album. What inspired you to do the cover, and what was the experience for you, like personally, in recording that track?
Well, I love Maiden, and it's always,
everybody.
It's always scary when you got to kind of, mimic Bruce. That's not an easy challenge. So
no.
Of course I didn't want to try to sing it high in his registers. I just did my own thing on it, and it felt really comfortable. And I think that was probably one of my proudest covers I think I've done.
It's amazing.
It was very fun, and the way I used the lower tones worked and blended the voices, And Alex and them tear it up on the guitars, on the solos on it. It's amazing.
Sí, la verdad. Otra cosa que notamos es la presencia de la voz. Hubo un cambio en la canción Low, del disco Low. ¿Qué te inspiró a cambiar un poco el tono de voz y hacerlo un poco más fuerte, tipo Sepultura? Y también por ahí supimos algo de que Sepultura, cuando Max salió, quisieron ver si trabajaban juntos.
So you had a very different tonal vocal presence on the song Low from the album Low. What inspired that change for that particular track? And was that the impetus for a reaction for you trying out for Sepultura when Max left and saying, oh, you can do that?
No, I mean, I think because that Low record was our first record without Alex and the original guys. Okay. So the first 5 records, we tuned those to natural A 440 tuning, which when I was younger, I didn't know. I was just trying to sing to what they're tuning. And over time, I found that, when Alex left the band, we played those songs tuned down, and they just felt really comfortable for me. And it actually helped my range a little bit more. And I realized, wow, I should have just been singing in this key and writing songs in this key the whole time. So when we did the Low record, that was our last record with Atlantic. So we were kind of pissed off at the world a little bit because the Seattle scene was kind of coming in and metal was kind of falling off the map. So we were kind of pissed off. And you know, when I sang that song, that was the first song I sang like death voice all the way through.
Exactly.
You know, I got some reaction from fans saying, yeah, I love it. Then some fans said, no, don't do that. You know, so you can't please everybody.
Yeah, I know.
But I went.
That's my favorite song of all time from Testament.
But I went right into the next record, Demonic, because Gene Hoglan joined the band. And next thing you know, we're writing these heavier, harder songs. And I tried to be singing them, being more melodic, but I ended up using more of the death voice on that record, pretty much all the songs. And it just felt right. But it was just right for that time, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Muy bien. Eso viene una historia importante. Gente, presten atención a esto que viene, porque esto es algo muy bonito. En el 2001 te diagnosticaron con cáncer. ¿Puedes contarnos cómo fue vivir con eso y cómo fue la historia que nosotros creemos que la sabemos, pero cómo salió el cáncer de tu cuerpo? ¿Puedes contarnos esa historia?
So you were diagnosed with a very rare cancer in 2001. And the story that we read, and we wanted you to share with us, of how you felt it leave your body is absolutely incredible. When we discovered that, like how that finally went away, both Nelson and I had goosebumps. We're like, oh my God. And so we thought that it would be awesome to hear it from your words, if you didn't mind.
Well, it's a long story. You know, it's, you know, so, you know, I seen 3 medicine men during that time. And, I mean, I'm sure you read the whole story, but, you know, a friend of mine kind of had a vision of me and this Charlie, one of the medicine men, getting together, putting on war paint, about to go into battle together. And she told me this after a show in LA at the Rainbow. And I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. And I didn't know I was sick. And so then when I found out I was ill, within a year later, this Charlie guy shows up at my house and does a healing on me. And I knew it was him. I never met him before, but I felt like, you know, I knew it was him there. And he took me on a little journey. I laid down and he did a ceremony with the eagle's feather and waved it across my chest. And I was floating through the air. I heard like the wolves howling in the wind. And I was just like traveling through the air. And when I was done, he sat me down and he told me that, hey, things are going to happen. You're not really going to understand. It's not going to make sense to you, but when they happen, you're going to understand as they fall into place. But the wind's going to be your spirit guide through this. So I said, okay, yeah, whatever, you know, kind of one ear out the other. And so, you know, I did the other medicine things. And so one day I was at the house, we had a party, and I was having stomach problems. And that night we had a party, and I was woken up in the middle of the night because it was very windy and furniture was getting thrown out back and into the pool, and I couldn't sleep. So I went downstairs in a guest room, in a bathroom, and outside that bathroom window was like some beer cans, like in a little funnel cloud, just jingling, you know, and it was very windy. And as I was sitting there, I guess went to the bathroom and just released something from me, and I had an overwhelming sensation that I just got rid of the cancer, basically, the illness.
Wow.
And as that happened, the wind stopped and the cans kind of hit the ground and just in silence. And I had the overwhelming feeling, and I actually went and woke up my wife upstairs and said, hey, basically, I just shit the cancer out downstairs, basically. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I'm just telling you. And so that week I went and did my blood work, and the doctor gave the report saying, your tumor's cancer free. And I said, holy shit, you know, I knew it. Told you. Went home. I told you I got rid of the cancer. You know, so but it was 3 medicine men that I believed, and all these things added up and we're a part of the whole story. But the whole thing was I was believing it all. I was just mind over matter. I was just believing everything that was going to work was working. And it got me through it, you know.
Qué bonita historia para que todos escuchemos. Parece mentira, pero el uno creer en ciertas cosas, el poder de la mente es tan increíble que en el caso de Chuck, o sea, se pudo curar y de algo tan difícil que es el cáncer, ¿verdad? Ay, qué historia más bonita. Ok, ahora vamos por una parte que me encanta. Bueno, que nos encanta a mi primo Lu y a mí. Si hay un disco en vivo que hemos escuchado, ayer estábamos hablando, por 30 años, es que son 30 años, es este disco en vivo de Testament, que es Return to the Apocalyptic City. O sea, es que yo no le puedo decir la cantidad de veces que nosotros cantamos I didn't mean to offend you.
Oh my God.
Of so many lies. Es un disco increíble, ese disco en vivo de Testament. ¿Y cómo supieron que el concierto de Palladium era el ideal para grabar ese show en vivo? Y de verdad, Chuck, qué disco en vivo más increíble. Después de 30 años y lo sigo amando exactamente igual.
So, real life, Chuck, real life, zero exaggerations. There is no way that Nelson and I can count how many times we have listened to Return to the Apocalyptic City together.
We love it.
It is a stupid amount of times that we have jammed out to that record over the last 30 years, an insane amount of times. It is our favorite live album by like a million. When you guys did that recording or that show, did you have that planned that show at the Palladium was going to be the live record, or how did that end up happening?
Just last minute stuff, you know. We're just like, okay, we're on fire, different lineup now. Let's capture this, you know, just spur the moment. I think that's kind of how we roll, you know.
Pero es que es increíble, de verdad. O sea, sí, yo sé que todos estamos por acá, si estamos aquí viendo el video y la entrevista con Chuck es porque somos súper amantes de Testament, pero si por algún motivo usted no ha escuchado Return to the Apocalyptic City live show, por favor, tienen que escucharlo, es que es increíble.
Nelson was saying that for anybody who hasn't heard that, it is one of the best records that, like, period,
you have to.
Like, has to be listened to immediately.
Hablando de conciertos en vivo, siempre hay un concierto que a uno se le queda en la cabeza y que uno dice, wow, es que eso sí fue el mejor show de mi vida. ¿Tienes algún recuerdo entre tantos conciertos? ¿Cuál ha sido ese show inolvidable para ti?
When you think of all the live shows that you've performed at throughout your entire life, which is the one that immediately comes to mind and why? What's that one where you, like, when you think of all the shows you've ever done, like, oh my God, that one?
Well, we talked about it. It's definitely that Monsters of Rock 88 I talk about because it was such an overwhelming show for us. And to be set on a platform, have that opportunity really opened some doors for us in Europe. And it was a perfect setting for us, for our situation, you know. And that's the one, you know, always for me.
Qué bueno. Es que ese Monsters of Rock tiene que haber sido algo increíble. Y algo que no tiene nada que ver, pero a otros hacer preguntas diferentes es, ¿qué voces hiciste para Disney en What If Show?
All right, so we're all over the place now. What voices did you record for Disney's What If Show?
I was Dr. Evil Strange.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the episodes of What If. It's a series, What If? So it was the one,
the Marvel Disney Plus. Yes.
Yeah. So it was the episode with Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Very cool.
So I'm Dr. Evil Strange, his evil half that he fights with and stuff like that. I'm the evil guy.
Qué bueno, awesome. Eso es increíble. Bueno, ya saben, ahí está la voz de Chuck Williams en Disney para que ustedes vean hasta dónde llega Testament y hasta dónde llegan los sueños, porque yo le garantizo que el Chuck Billy de niño no se iba a imaginar que iba a trascender tantísimo a la historia, pero qué chiva. ¿Qué ha todo sentido de tu familia y las personas allegadas que te admiran y te quieren tanto ver un display de Testament en el Hard Rock Café de New Mexico?
So when you received a permanent display at the Hard Rock, New Mexico, and I think simultaneously, you were also being featured at an exhibit for Native American exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum. Mm-hmm. What was it like for your family and loved ones, and, you know, just for you in general, to have those wonderful honors bestowed upon you? and recognition.
Well, yeah, the Hard Rock, being the first native to have a permanent display was pretty awesome. The Smithsonian, that's huge. That's a big thing, and to be part of that group, and the exhibit was Up Where We Belong, and it's Native Americans in pop culture. And so I was in the display there, and it actually moved around to a few different exhibits. But that one was an honor because my grandmother is in the Smithsonian for our tribe. She's known for basket weaving of our tribe. So we have baskets from our tribe in the Smithsonian. So I was actually having two generations at the same time. I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's amazing. Bueno, ya vamos casi por las últimas preguntas, y una de ellas es, hemos escuchado por ahí que siempre has tenido muchas ganas de hacer un solo álbum. ¿Es cierto que es un blues record?
So we heard that you might, that if you were thinking about doing a solo album, you might do like a blues record. Is this something that's actually going to happen?
I'm talking to guitar players to write me songs, but I wouldn't say it's going to be a blues record. I'd say it's not going to be a thrash record.
Okay.
It's not going to be a Testament record. It'll lean more towards, and not necessarily a rock record, kind of rockish blues, but I want it real simple, like old school, like we're back when we first started making records, vinyls, where no sample drums, no all that. Let's just make it real old school and make it the best you can make it sound. That's what I want to try to accomplish.
Okay, ojalá que pronto esté listo entonces.
Yeah.
Vamos ahora ya con el cierre del programa, vamos con un poquito de preguntas personales. Y esto es, cuando piensas en los lugares que has visitado en todo el planeta, ¿hay algún lugar en donde tú no tenías mucho expectativa, pero cuando usted llegó al lugar dijo, wow, este lugar hay que regresar porque es increíble?
With so much touring under your belt and visiting so many different countries and places, was there one place in particular or a few that you weren't expecting to be blown away and like just, oh my goodness, when you got there?
I mean, it's always like that, but I know last time before COVID, we got to go play Kathmandu.
Oh, wow.
That was very, very cool. When we showed up there, we didn't know what to think. We knew it was, we knew the gear wasn't going to be the best. The PA was going to be the best, but we knew the fans were going to be awesome and they'd be very appreciative for us to come there. So they had a festival there, and they usually have this one band, the local band that headlines it and puts on the festival to raise money to build houses for people that had their houses destroyed there in the earthquake. So that's what the festival is, just to raise money. And they built, I believe, like 42 houses through the festival. So that was awesome.
Amazing.
So when we get there, just the experience of the culture was awesome. But the fans, it was just such an intimate outdoor little festival they put on. But it was you could just see they just loved it so much. And the best part about the whole thing is the band that put it on, their drummer couldn't make it out of country to get to the show, so they couldn't play, and they were very disappointed, like, oh no, we put this on, we planned the whole year and now we don't get to play. And Gene Hoglan stepped up and said, hey, I'll learn your songs and play it. So Gene listened that day, learned their set, and played the show for them that night.
Wow.
So Gene Hoglan saved their show, and it was just amazing. The fans loved it. They were so happy that, because it's one of their favorite bands. So
yeah,
they played, and it was just an awesome experience.
Qué bueno, qué chido, como decimos aquí en Costa Rica. Una persona que viaja tanto y que tiene que estar de país en país por obviamente el grupo y todo, ¿cuál es la comida que tú dices, ok, para ir a lo seguro, esto es lo que yo amo comer, no importa el país y no importa el lugar?
So food's got to be a thing when you're traveling, right? When you're traveling, is there like what's your go-to food when you're traveling, especially internationally? And is there a destination when you have your tour set up where you're like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to go back to this place to eat this blank?
Yeah, we have that. We have a few of those, but I know the one we love, La Coruna up in northern Spain. It's a beautiful place on the ocean where Hercules is from, and They have great restaurants. So every time we have day off or we have like multiple days off in Europe, so we're like, let's fly over there because it's like you stay in like 5-star hotels.
We have to.
For like $100. It's very cheap, and great food on the ocean. So that's kind of our go-to.
Ya saben
Awesome.
dónde tienen que ir. Siempre nos gusta preguntarle a las personas que entrevistamos ¿qué escuchaste hoy de música? Cuando fuiste a hacer alguna vuelta en el carro, ¿qué acabas de escuchar independientemente del género de música que sea?
What's the last music you listened to in your car today? Doesn't matter what genre it was. What's the last thing you were listening to?
Oh, I don't know. I listen to a lot of Sirius radio. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of where I get turned on to a lot of the newer bands, but not really went out and purchased anything new lately because I'm getting ready to put my head in to start working on new music. So I'm kind of just focusing on waiting for the riffs to come.
Okay. También aquí en La Dosis siempre estamos buscando poner algún grupo nuevo. ¿Hay algún grupo que hayas escuchado hace poco que tú digas, este grupo es nuevo, lo puedo recomendar porque es muy bueno?
We're always looking for new music to play on La Dosis and introduce both internationally and here in Costa Rica. Is there a recent band that you've run into maybe on tour that maybe opened up for you guys or you were able to check out or got recommended to you that you would say, oh my God, you guys got to check this out?
There is, but I'll probably say their name wrong.
Okay, that's right.
Let's see. Let me see if I can look them up because they played with us over in Europe at some festivals last year, and I seen them and I thought they're really good. Hold on.
Take your time.
God, I can't remember. It's like Angelic. God, I can't remember if I have their CD too, but I'll have to tell you later. But I know it's like Angelic something.
Okay. Vamos a escribirlo después porque nos va a escribir.
Amazing.
Y alguna vez, ya para terminar, esa es la última pregunta. ¿Alguna vez has viajado a Costa Rica pero en plan de vacación, solo venir a descansar o solamente has venido a Costa Rica para dar shows?
Have you ever traveled to Costa Rica just for fun on vacation or only for touring?
Only for shows, but I have a friend that goes fishing there all the time and he keeps asking me, we got to go, you got to come with us. So I haven't been there for fun.
Okay, well, hopefully soon.
Buenísimo. Bueno, a toda la gente que estuvo viendo esta entrevista con el increíble Chuck Billy, recuerden, tenemos a Testament con Creator el miércoles 3 de mayo en Peppers Club, que no nos lo podemos perder. Gracias, Chuck, por tu tiempo. Gracias por tu amabilidad. There is something that I have to say in English because I want you to know is when the life gives you this kind of moment to talk with one of the very best vocals in metal and you see that amazing person that is inside Chuck Billy, that makes you just not a fan, makes me really, really happy, very honored to have you here. You are an amazing guy and thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you guys, man. I appreciate your guys' time. And we'll
Seriously,
see you
Chuck,
we'll see you real soon.
Oh,
Nos vemos en Costa Rica.
100%.
Right.
Thank you so much for the time today. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Oh my God, gente, es que ustedes escucharon esa persona maravillosa, porque es la verdad, es que no importa el género de música que usted toque, qué bonito cuando vos te encontrás una persona educada, amable, atenta, simpática como Chuck Billy. Gracias, Luisito.
Primo, es que unbelievable.
Gracias por hacer el sueño realidad para mí, mae. Usted sabe lo que significa Chuck Billy para mí, mae.
Mae, yo nunca me olvido, para nada. Primo, es que, okay, en la dosis, I'm always trying to add new music y poner nuevos tracks y todo. Gente, no saben qué cantidad de música Nelson me ha puesto por primera vez en mi vida desde hace 30 años. I will never, ever, 30 años, primo, real life. Que con los dos mutuamente, listen to this, no me gusta. Oh my God, this is, okay. All right. Cuando no estoy mal, Lu, es que usted no entiende.
No entiende.
No entiende. Y yo, oh my God, this grupo is amazing. Y en serio, como hablamos en la entrevista, es que no sería exageración tratar de ponerle un número a la cantidad de veces que hemos escuchado ese live album de Souls of the Apocalypse. Es que it's one of our favorites, one of our things. So many lies all the time.
Sí, gente, así es que espero que hayan disfrutado montones la entrevista aquí. Y hay algo muy importante que yo siempre digo. Este esfuerzo y ese trabajo tan chiva que hacemos con muchísimo cariño para todos ustedes no puede ser posible si ustedes no nos ayudan a compartirlo y a ayudarnos a seguirnos en redes. Recuerden que Costa Rica es un país muy pequeño y a la gente que nos ve afuera también. La única forma en que podemos hacer que esto cada día sea más grande y más chiva es con la ayuda de ustedes. Así es que les agradecemos si se suscriben a nuestros canales, si nos siguen en nuestras redes y nos ayudan a compartir el video.
We want to keep doing these. We want to keep doing these more.
Y miren las
We're
cosas
going
que
to.
siguen. Miren los grupos que siguen.
There's a lot more in store. Thank you so much, Chuck, for this. And thank you guys so much for watching this. It was awesome. And we're going to bring you a lot more stuff later this year.
Recuerden, primito, yo me sé la fecha, pero para que la digas tú, ¿la fecha la tienes por ahí?
El 2 de mayo.
3
de mayo. Miércoles 3 de mayo en Club Peppers con Creator. Testament live in Costa Rica. Oh my God. Let's go
Clash
see Chuck
of
Miller.
Titans.
Yes, yes.
Y obviamente vamos a estar poniendo un montón de Testament y un montón de Creator aquí en Planet 107.5, también en nuestro programa de radio, para que no se pierdan todas las cosas que hacemos. Recuerden también visitar nuestra página web, que ahí están todos los chivos y toda la información. Primito, repitamos la página web.
nadosisradio.com. I think, ¿cuáles son las dos palabras que nos faltan para terminar esto?
Stay
Stay
metal.